Welcome to Off the Green. We are your hosts. I'm Anthony Bruno, and he's Wade McFarlane.
This week, we are joined by a Canadian golf journalist who has done everything in this game of golf that most of us could only dream of.
Adam Stanley is a contributor for the PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, Canadian Press, Sportsnet, just to name a few. This guy has done it all.
And after a short stint in marketing, he actually switched his attention to journalism, and he has never looked back since. But this week, we are going to look back with him on his incredible life and his career in golf. And also, we're probably going to talk a little bit about golf too. You might want to stick around, and we hope you enjoy our conversation with Adam Stanley. Adam, thanks so much for joining us, man. You're joining us from Ottawa, just about to head down to Florida for this week's LPGA event. We're super excited to have you. This is awesome. As always, we're going to start things off with the icebreaker question. So as a fellow Canadian, we have to know, is poutine overrated or underrated?
Oh my goodness. I think it's kind of underrated, to be honest. Like the Americanized version of poutine, where you just get like the bag of shredded mozzarella on top of like fries and gravy, like you can't call that poutine. That's just like cheese fries, you know? So I think once Americans have legitimate poutine, they'll start to realize how absolutely fabulous it is. Now, I think they do it in like Vermont and stuff like that with the actual cheese curds from up there, and certainly in Wisconsin as well. Had some nice poutine during the week of the Ryder Cup a couple years ago down in Whistling Straits. So some American states do it okay, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing like a poutine, especially this time of the year. You know, if you're going skating on the canal, there's my first Ottawa reference dropped on this podcast 5 minutes in, but yeah, I think poutine is actually, I think it's pretty underrated, to be frank.
I couldn't agree more, Adam. I love fries. I love poutine. And speaking of your point about Americans not getting it quite right yet, I was in Disney World in November and I had a poutine at Disney Springs. It was one of the worst poutines I've ever had in my life. Like, I could not believe how bad it was. And I think I love poutine.
Yeah.
So I was pretty disappointed. So the Americans got to start upping their game a little bit.
It's the curds. The curds is the key thing. That's like what kind of makes or breaks it. Like we can have fries with gravy anywhere else, but like,
so like, are you in the gourmet poutines though, right? So like, I went to Montreal for the F1 race a few years back, and my buddy is like, you got to try this poutine here, man. And they do like the shredded chicken on top. It's all the extras on top, right? So it's not just your like average everyday poutine. It's like, it's elevated and it is incredible.
Yeah.
It is.
I hope you didn't have to like do anything after you had that though.
Oh, you know, you're done. No. You are absolutely finished. You're on the couch. It's like toasted. It is nap time after that, but it is thoroughly enjoyable while you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, boys, I'm sure we could do an hour podcast on poutines. I would have no problem doing
food
that.
Stuff only. Yeah.
But we got to get into some golf talk here and some talk about you, Adam. So very interesting. You actually began your career in advertising.
I did. Yes.
When and why did you decide to change industries and become a golf writer?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, you know, I went to Carleton University here in Ottawa for the Canadian listeners. I graduated in 2010, and I had been an intern at a major advertising firm in Toronto for 2 of the 3 summers, kind of in between university. And they hired me right out of school. Like, we're talking like March of my final year of school. I got hired, full-time job, just absolutely coasting. Like, there was not a beer in sight that I would not drink in my 4th year of university by the time the sun first shone around St. Patrick's Day. So, I mean, that was fun. And then I got, you know, thoroughly and firmly in the mix of, you know, kind of working in a corporate job. I had my own cubicle, and then I had kind of a half cubicle, half office situation. And I was pretty excited. Like, this was the prime time of like Mad Men on TV, you know, and working in an ad firm and kind of having that show be, you know, in the zeitgeist of pop culture was pretty darn impressive. So I did that for a couple of years. And then, you know, obviously right out of school, I was keen to try to do something different, and just kind of classic millennial. I bounced away from the advertising agency side to work at client side instead in marketing. So I ended up working at Rogers for about the same amount of time, about 2 years. And I worked in digital marketing there. I kind of got my start with social media as it was starting to become more of an advertising platform. But Yeah, I mean, long story short, I was, in my early 20s, and I had paid off my student debt because I lived at home and just was like trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do with my life, and ended up doing writing, a lot of writing kind of just on the side of my real job. And originally, after, not taking any time off of school and just going right into work, I had originally thought, hey, I'm going to take a summer, I'm going to go play golf, I'm going to travel, I'm going to do some writing, I'm going to figure out what I want to do next. And that was 10 years ago. One thing kind of led to another, and my my endless summer vacation seems to be continuing now. So yeah, the big reason for leaving, at the time, was just, guys, like I couldn't handle kind of the corporate scene. I couldn't handle, the quarterly meetings where it was like, hey, we got to do everything that you do, everything that you operate for, every kind of project you're working on needs to kind of ladder up to our shareholders, executives. And at 24, I was like, I do not care one iota about what those people have to say, or anything of that nature. So anyways, I started my own thing, wanted to do my own thing. And yeah, like I said, it's been 10 years, and I've gotten to go to a lot of cool places and met a lot of cool people and done a lot of cool things. And I wouldn't trade it for the world.
10 years ago, could you have seen yourself here now? Like if you 10 years
Talking
ago
to you
back,
guys?
don't talking to us, yeah, but no, just doing the stuff that Adam has got to live out in the last decade. Like, would you have gone back and looked at yourself and looked at your life now and been like, this is even a possibility, let alone like, reality?
Yeah, like Bubba Watson said it when he first won the Masters. Like, he didn't get this far in his dreams, and to be, without being too cheesy, like I wouldn't have gotten to this point like in my dreams. Like 2013, this time of year 2013 was when I first started to think that I wanted to leave my cushy corporate job. I ended up leaving in May of 2013. So, then 10 years ago, like now, there was not a chance that I could have imagined that me just wanting to like screw around for a summer would have resulted in all of the stuff that I've been able to accomplish. And I wear a ton of hats, obviously. Like, okay, fine, yes, I'm a journalist. Yes, I host content. Yes, I'm on TV. Yes, I do all these things. But at its heart, and at its core, I own a business, right? I'm a business owner. I have to do my own financing stuff. I'm my own IT guy. I'm my own business development guy. So there's a lot of layers to kind of my day-to-day efforting that not a lot of people end up seeing, but that kind of makes all of the really neat accomplishments all that much more rewarding. Because yes, I have a management team, and I have been able to lean on a lot of people's expertise, but for the most part, I basically do everything myself, and that kind of makes all of the stuff that I have done and the things that I'm looking forward to doing more of all that much more thrilling.
Yeah, it makes sense. In a way, you're like advertising yourself, right?
Yes,
so
basically.
it kind of comes full circle. I don't know if we mentioned Ottawa yet. I think we've mentioned Ottawa. Adam is living in Ottawa currently, from Toronto. If you had to pick one golf course in each place, and you were going to pitch it to someone who's never played a round of golf in Ottawa or Toronto, where would you send them?
Oh my gosh. Public course, I would assume.
Wherever.
So Toronto, I'd say Don Valley for sure. Public golf course, because I grew up playing there. I didn't live all that far from there. And even, as a high school student, you take the TTC, you get there, and it's a pretty decent track, kind of all things considered. And any golf course that you can, come away with feeling like, hey, that was decent enough value, and it's right close to everything. And it was just a lot of kind of nostalgic memories growing up playing at Don Valley. But yeah, I mean, I think that golf course is still got a really important place kind of in my heart. So if people are just rolling out to Toronto for a weekend vacation and they got some time, jump in an Uber from downtown, it'll cost you $15, go play Don Valley. And then obviously, like, Toronto is the mecca for private golf facilities in this country as well. St. G's, Toronto Golf Club, Rosedale, obviously, Mississauga, Scarborough. You can go on and on. Like, the golf courses that are private in Toronto are unmatched. And then of course, like, you do that 45-minute to an hour long drive, and you get to a place like TPC Toronto, which is like next level, like 54 holes of just absolutely spectacular golf course and facility, which a bunch of things are happening there over the next couple of years, which should be a lot of fun. So, places like that are unbelievable. And then obviously leaving there and coming here, the public golf scene in Ottawa is a little lackluster, to be frank. Equinel is very, very good. It's kind of 30 minutes outside of downtown. The Marshes is really, really good. It's in Canada, basically in a business park. So I like those two places a lot. And then the funny thing about private clubs in Ottawa is that we've got so much history here, like the Royal Ottawa, which is actually in Gatineau. It's been around. I'm pretty sure it was like one of the very first golf courses ever to join like the Royal Canadian Golf Association way back in like the 1800s. So love Royal, Rideau View, great people there. And then Ottawa Hunt as well, where they had the CP Women's Open. Those places are just pure. So yeah, a lot of fun. I mean, so many golf courses, so little time, but yeah, both places. I kind of think Toronto is, it's where I'm from and it's kind of my home, and Ottawa's, where I live now and kind of where I live. But both places will always be pretty special to me.
All right, so this might be tough, but what's your favorite golf course to play in Canada?
That is tough because there are a lot on my list that I want to play, and there's a lot that I have been able to play. I mean, Cabot Cliffs obviously is there. Between the two, Cabot Links and Cabot Cliffs, I think I had more fun at Cabot Links, and then Cabot Cliffs is just magic. Everywhere you look, that place is absolutely spectacular. So probably Cabot Links is probably my ultimate favorite here in Canada. But you can go, coast to coast and find great golf from, kind of Bear Mountain in Victoria to Jasper and Banff in Alberta, to Dakota Dunes in Saskatchewan. Never played golf in Winnipeg and Manitoba before, so that's on the list. And never played golf in the territories either, Yukon or Northwest Territories or none of it. That I think that would actually be pretty darn cool as well. Given how long their summertime months are. So never played there. Played in Quebec a bunch. PEI as well. Heading back there this summer, which I'm excited for. So played there. Played in Nova Scotia as well. And New Brunswick, haven't gone there. Newfoundland, haven't gone there either. So yeah, big long list, but Cabot Links. If you had to be like Adam, 1-1-1 only, I would say Cabot Links.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I have yet to get out there. It's supposed to be phenomenal. So I guess on a bigger scale now, like, what is your favorite golf course you've played in the world?
Augusta National, of course. Yeah.
Easy answer.
It just goes like the crazy thing about playing Augusta National. So I won the media lottery the very first time that I went to cover the Masters, and that was in 2016. So got my name drawn. It was unbelievable. I brought my clubs with me because somebody who had covered the Masters a lot suggested, hey, it's not like the media group that covers the Masters every single year gets bigger and bigger. So a first timer, like, you may have a pretty good chance at winning the draw. So brought my clubs, won the draw, got to play, went there for the day, of course. And honestly, still now to this day, 7 years later, I can recall basically every moment from arrival on the driving range to final putt. Like, I can remember every shot, almost every smell, like almost every blade of grass and where it was and what steps I took. And, I would have a hard time telling you, as soon as I get in my car after a usual round, but playing Augusta National was one of those moments where I never get tired of talking about it. I never get tired about reliving it. And I never think that it's one of those things that's overrated or like, oh my gosh, it's so like Augusta. Wow. Like, no, it's too private. It's too like snooty. There was like the caddies were the opposite of that. The actual treatment of you as a member for the day was the opposite of that. And I think being passionate about golf and making the coverage of golf like my chosen life's direction, having that opportunity to walk in the footsteps of, the ghosts of golfing past and everyone who's played the game at a high level, is not lost on me. And I think that that's probably why I still remember every single shot, every single moment from that day as much as I did. So for me, playing Augusta National, yes, okay, fine. It was, the best golf course I've ever played, but it was also kind of the best collection of golfing moments I've ever had as well.
God, that is so cool. And I'm so jealous that you've gotten to play Augusta. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you say that 11 was your favorite hole? I remember reading that article that you wrote. Is it 11?
Yeah, I think 11 is so. Yeah, 11 is probably my favorite hole, if only because you don't realize how kind of magical that place is until you are, kind of in it, right? Because number 10 is incredible as well because it's incredibly downhill and dramatic. Like you kind of are falling into the rest of the golf course. You've come up 9, you get to the tee on 10, you hit a sweeping draw down the hill on 10, and then all of a sudden you're in this kind of quiet zone. And on 11, they tuck you back in the tees, and it's kind of bowling lane down, and the patrons can only walk down the one side. So unless you get to be able to play, you don't really see the left side, you don't really see the center. And when you're there, kind of the absorption of the magic that is Augusta National and the beginning of Amen Corner and et cetera, that was kind of why that particular hole for me was certainly my favorite. And if not, just one of the greatest little spots at that golf course for sure.
So awesome. And also, are you now eligible to go back into the media lottery at this point, or do you have to wait one more year?
No. I think I'm eligible now because it is every 7 years. So, 2016, 7 years later is 2023. So fingers tightly crossed that we get to go back and maybe bring the clubs again and maybe get the name drawn. I'm glad you asked me about that because I have a funny story. Is that I originally I didn't have a rental car that week when I covered the Masters. I went in to the golf course from the rental house with another colleague every single day. So that was all well and good. But when I got drawn to win, I was like, holy crap, like I gotta figure out how to get down Magnolia Lane. Like I don't have a car. So I asked them, I was like, can I take an Uber down Magnolia Lane? And the guy was like, we would prefer if you did not do that. And I was like, that's okay. And they're like, but if you could take a taxi, like not an Uber, you could take a taxi. Thankfully, one of the other housemates who was not leaving Augusta, Georgia until later in the day, he volunteered to drive me down Magnolia Lane. Now, for anyone else to be like, man, yes, please, I would love to drive down Magnolia Lane. Let me see. I would love to drive. This was not that special of a moment for him. So this is Cam Cole, who was a longtime sports reporter out in Vancouver. And this dude won the lottery every 7 years. He covered the Masters. Yeah, he covered the Masters frequently enough that he got dinged every 7. He played Augusta National 3 times, got the draw. 7 years later, got the draw again. 7 years later, got the draw again. Managed to do it 3 times. So him driving down Magnolia Lane, old hat at this point. And I couldn't believe it. Thought it was hilarious. But it was neat to be able to kind of share that moment with somebody who had, done it for so long and was a veteran in the space.
Man, that's crazy. Like the odds of right? that, like the odds of hitting it every time you're eligible is wild. I can't hit the ticket application once in my lifetime, and this guy's out here playing the course every 7 years. My goodness.
I know, like he's a member himself. And I felt the only other kind of funny moment that happened with respect to getting drawn was it came 1 year, maybe 2 years after Bob Weeks had gotten drawn. And Bob, of course, everyone who's listening to this, Canadian golf fans, knows Bob. Bob's a legend. Bob, I count him as a close friend now, which I'm incredibly thankful for because I grew up wanting to be Bob and I still want to be Bob. And Bob is, an icon in the space. And it took him 19 years before he got drawn to win the lottery to play Augusta National. And there I was, first time yanked, pegged it. Amazing. But that was pretty funny too.
Yeah, that's unreal, man. It really is. When did golf start for you? Like, what's kind of your first memory of golf, and when did you start playing golf growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I never played hockey growing up, and that was, I don't really know, a variety of reasons. I was never really a winter guy, so I played a lot of baseball growing up, got to a half decent level, and then golf kind of came along as another summertime activity. So I was like 9 or 10 or so, and it was a thing. It was my grandfather and it was our thing. My dad, it's funny enough, my dad's left-handed, my granddad was right-handed, so kind of skipped a generation, and he kind of taught me. And it's just one of those things that there were kind of family tournaments up near the cottage, and we kind of did one or two things together. And then as I got older, it became our thing. And so I kind of got into the game and playing when I was 9 or 10. I played through high school. I was the captain of my high school golf team in grade 12, and then I went to university, and everything kind of dropped off. And now I barely keep score. I just kind of play for fun, and it has become significantly better being able to just play for fun versus play seriously. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was my grandfather and I's thing. And after he passed away in 2009, so he never got to see kind of me do what it is that I'm doing. But I always say that there's 3 people in my life that kind of inspired me to want to make golf part of my life. My grandfather was one of them. Tiger Woods, of course, was the other. And then Mike Weir was the third, because not unlike Corey Connors or Mackenzie Hughes or whomever, they remember the exact moment in 2003 where they were when Mike Weir won the Masters. And I'm kind of the same way, not insofar as like, hey, I was playing golf at a super high level and I wanted to play golf on the PGA Tour, but there was something about that moment, that plucky underdog moment, that inspired me to want to, make golf a more aggressive part of my life than just kind of like something I was casually interested in. So yeah, after my grandfather passed away, I ended up actually getting a tattoo kind of dedicated to him. So I have Ben Hogan's iconic 1-iron shot tattooed on my leg, and it says just for granddad underneath. So like I said, those 3 guys are all kind of the inspiration for what I'm doing now. And like I said, it was kind of our thing and started a pretty long time ago, and still doing it now.
Love it. And Adam, you recently became a father this past September.
I did.
What do you think has surprised you most so far about that? And how has that impacted your life and your golf game?
Impacted my golf game because I have not touched a golf club since August, I would say. And usually the fall is like my time. And we had kind of talked about this previously, but fall golf in Toronto, Ottawa, Ontario, etc., Canada as a whole, undefeated, cannot be topped. Fall golf is absolutely elite, and it's usually the time when I'm able to get most of my rounds in after an incredibly busy summer. Labor Day comes, puts it in there. I put it in the rear view, and then I'll be able to squeeze in as many games as I can until Halloween. Did not have that opportunity this year, unfortunately. Fortunately, because I had a lovely daughter, but unfortunately was not able to play as much golf as I would have liked. But in terms of what fatherhood has, or how fatherhood has changed my life, it's basically changed everything. I mean, it's not just when she eats and when she sleeps. It's kind of like she's number one priority. Emma is her name. And then all of the other stuff kind of trickles down. So it was fun to kind of take the time last year through the fall and over Christmas. My wife's, her birthday is on Christmas Day as well. So it's always kind of a busy time around here through the holidays. But, those were, again, we're talking about kind of magic. There's a collection of kind of magic moments every time your newborn does something. She laughed for the first time 2 or 3 days ago, right? And that will be just kind of ingrained in my head. That sound and the look on her face will never leave me. And I think that those inspiring times and those little things where you're like, this is so exciting, let's get to the next thing, but at the same time it's like, oh, hold on, let's settle down, let's slow some of this down as well, is pretty cool. So the only thing that remains is basically how am I going to install kind of my working life in with parenting life, and that is yet to be seen, as the golf season is just now starting to pick up. But we'll make it work, just like every other family has ever made it work in the history of human existence. And it's fun though. It's a lot of fun. Everything's different. I'm learning every day, but having a kid has been great too.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like you said to me the other day, like you're on the road a fair bit, so yep. it will definitely be tricky to balance that. But also, like you said, everyone can do it, right? These guys are every week of their lives potentially
yeah, right.
on tour, right? And they're obviously leading different lives, but yeah, it's something that you have to balance. So I want to ask you about Canadian golf, because you've been writing and covering Canadian golf specifically, really your whole career. So for you, in your opinion, who is the greatest Canadian golfer of all time? And also, who is currently the best Canadian golfer playing?
Well, the answer to both is Brooke. And I would say because she has already done stuff that nobody in the history of this game from this country has ever done, period, ever. And she's 25 years old. So, an argument could be made that Mike Weir is the greatest Canadian golfer of all time because he won the Masters. And if you're a casual sports fan, you know what that is. If you're a casual sports fan, you don't know what the Amundi Evian Championship is. Like, let's just call it a spade a spade. But Brooks won 2 majors. No one else has done that. She's won 12 times on the LPGA Tour. No one has done that. She has inspired a legion of young women to want to play golf. And I am the most excited about the next generation of female golfers in this country. Like, the girls who are between 10 and 15 right now are going to absolutely put the pedal down when it comes to golf in this country over the next decade or so, which is going to be a very, very exciting time for the sport in this country. But yeah, I mean, I think an argument could be made for Mike because of what he did with the Masters, and this is peak Tiger. He got to number 3 in the world, which was pretty darn impressive as well. He's made a ton of money. He's inspired all of the guys who are on the PGA Tour right now, every single one of them. He's inspired even people like me to want to pursue golf in some capacity. So certainly an argument can be made, but Brooke is in a different league in terms of accomplishments. She's in a different league in terms of inspiration. She's in a different league in terms of authoritative voice in the space. If Brooke Henderson came out and said, X or Y, either for or against something in Canadian golf, people would be jumping through hoops to try to make that happen. And I don't think we've ever had that kind of figure in this sport ever before. And even somebody like Mackenzie Hughes, who has won twice on the PGA Tour, and only, I think, one handful of men in the history of the sport in this country have ever won more than once on the PGA Tour. Even somebody like Mackenzie Hughes has said, like, we just keep looking at Brooke as an inspiration for us. Like, the fact that she tees it up at majors and is in the mix basically every time at majors is something, that they're trying to shoot for. So I think the combination of accomplishment and inspiration and just never say die, no fear, step on your neck, and just authoritative figure in sport makes her not only the greatest of all time, but also the best that we have right now. And we should consider ourselves so lucky. It's pretty darn cool when you think about it.
It's pretty hard to disagree. And what's crazy is that she's only 25. She's already won 12 times. Like, she's just getting started.
That's the bonkers thing, right? It's like she has made so much history, and she's like basically just writing the history books as she goes. Like, there's no reason why Brooke should not win at least 2 tournaments a year, and there's no reason why she shouldn't win that many tournaments a year for the next decade, right? And then now we're talking about someone who's won 30 plus times in their career before they've turned 40. Like, where is the limit? Like, are we going to talk about somebody who may be one of the LPGA Tour's all-time greats now, and she's from a town of 6,000 people where, like, the biggest thing in the town is a marijuana facility that used to be a chocolate factory? Like, these are like true things that has come out of Little Smiths Falls, Ontario. So like, for me, because I've known her for so long, a decade, like the whole time that I've covered golf, I've covered Brooke Henderson. So there are some moments when I find myself, in terms of storytelling, having to zoom out a little bit because I'm in it with her a lot, and that's all fine. And I consider my professional relationship with her, I'm very lucky for that. But you kind of have to think, like, this young girl from a town of 6,000 people is the number 7 ranked golfer on the planet. Like, it's crazy. And I do think that she is definitely one of Canada's most underrated athletes as well. Like, I don't think that her success is getting the kind of coverage that it deserves. But that being said, it may be because she's a bit of a victim of her own success. Like, she just goes out there and she wins all the time, and she's, top 5 on the money list every single year. It's kind of like, oh, okay. What more does she have to do to be able to kind of garner the aggressive coverage that I think that she deserves? I don't really know, other than, maybe winning every single week, which of course is impossible. But Yeah, that in terms of like actual working projects and kind of working effort, the coverage of Brooke Henderson and her accomplishments has been one of my favorite things that I've been able to do over the last little while.
Yeah, you said it, man. I mean, we could be looking 15 years down the line and actually putting her amongst some of the greatest golfers in women's history. Like
Yeah.
it's just it's wild. But so you've obviously covered so many topics in the world of golf, Adam. What would you say is your favorite topic to write about?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think the coverage of tournaments on site gets a little bit, you kind of find yourself in a bit of a creative rut because it's like see shot, write about shot, and then you do it all over again the next day, and then you see winner, write about winner. So I would say that the best topics are the ones that transcend the golf story. I like telling people's stories, and even if that's someone who I've covered a lot kind of inside the ropes, when I write their story outside the ropes, that kind of gives me a lot of kind of creative juice. It gets me super excited. So I went down to South Carolina to cover Corey Connors for 2 days, just about how he became Canada's top ranked male golfer after he got 3 straight top tens at the Masters. And you talk to Colin Morikawa about Corey Connors, you talk to Joel Damon about Corey Connors, you spend a day with his wife talking about Corey Connors. Like those kind of extra layers to storytelling make my job that much more exciting. I spent 2 days with Mike Weir in Montreal in December, and then a day in Toronto with him as he got announced as the President's Cup captain. I spent a whole day with Brooke when she got the key to the city for Ottawa last year. Though those opportunities now exist because I've been doing this for as long as I've been doing, but the topics that take you away from the golf course and let people know about these golfers as people are my most favorite things to do.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? I mean, to be able to have those opportunities is fantastic, right? But to be able to then, put it in your own words and share that experience with everyone else is just absolutely incredible. So switching gears a little bit, so we're going to the RBC Canadian Open now. Rory McIlroy, two-time defending champion. You called Rory's defense, his title defense last year, the greatest day of your career, really. Can you explain why?
Yeah, 100%. So, and Rory's defense was, I guess, part of it, but I still cannot believe that it all happened the way that it ended up happening. So Sunday's chugging along, and it's Rory and it's Justin Thomas and it's Tony Finau in the final group. And while all that's happening, Justin Rose is lighting St. G's on fire. Like, I don't know what he went out with. He may have gone out in like 28 or something like that. So, it becomes the afternoon. It's 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we have Rory shooting 29 in the front nine, Justin Thomas shooting 29 on the front nine. Justin Rose at this point is trending towards shooting the lowest score ever on the PGA Tour, because if he birdied like 2 of the last 5 or something, he would have shot a 58. He ends up making bogey on 18 and for a 60. But, at that point, he was trending towards shooting a 58. Those guys were doing their thing. And all the while, Brooke is friggin' winning on the LPGA Tour. Like, she is putting the pedal down at the ShopRite LPGA Classic. And at some point, someone was like, I think Brooke's about to win. And sure enough, I look on the LPGA's website, Brooke's ahead. There's only a few holes left. And in my head, I was like, I think I got to do something about this. So I'm in the media center after Rory and JT shoot, make the turn. And I think, okay, there's a little time here. Sure enough, Brooke goes on to win. I had to go do something about it. So I set up my computer in the dining center of the RBC Canadian Open Media Center. I jump on Zoom. I record a winner's interview with Brooke, write a story about how she managed to win. You send the video interview off to Sportsnet. And then, I'm back out there in time to see Justin Rose shoot 60. And the 2 headlining golfers of this event, JT and Rory, go down in the wire with Tony Finau, who's had an unbelievable back nine. And all the while, Corey Connors has shot a 62 to catapult up the leaderboard to win Low Canadian as first for his first time and shoot an 8 under par in the final round. And anyways, I had to interview him on TV. And then Rory's agent was like, I'll give you one question in the locker room on his way out. And I was like, no, okay, sounds good. So anyways, we rip up to the locker room. We do the interview, write the story. There's Rory, comes into the locker room. He sees the TV on. He's like, that was the best effing shot I hit all day. We look around. We see him hit one of his approach shots on the back nine. I ask him 2 questions on in the post-round interview. And then he's off beer in hand to jump in the jet and head home. So even like saying it out loud now kind of doesn't seem like it was a real day, because it was barely like a day. It was like a stretch of 4 hours when all that happened. Oh, and by the way, I drove home back to Ottawa after all that happened from Toronto. So greatest day of my career, because those are the moments that you sign up for when you're trying to cover this game. Big wins by big people, and just the opportunity that I had to do a little bit of everything was incredible. Like, I think I might still be tired from that day, but greatest day of my career. Rory wins, have all the time in the world for him. Huge admiration for him as a person and a golfer. Brooke wins, ended up getting to do a one-on-one with her. Corey shoots 8 under par Sunday, final round, Canadian Open, to win low Canadian, one-on-one with him. Wrote 3 stories, had a beer, peeled on out of there. It was a heck of a day, heck of a week. And yeah, I don't know how it could be topped, but that's not every day covering golf is like that, but you get one of those, and I'm never going to forget it. That's for sure.
Yeah, the way you just explained that, I think like perfectly encapsulates like just how insane that day actually was. So yeah, great job. Honestly, I forgot some of those things that happened that day, and that was just insane.
Yeah.
So Adam, you've made some bold predictions for the 2023 season. And one of those bold predictions was that a Canadian male would win a major. So, what major and which Canadian golfer do you think can pull it off?
Yeah, I mean, they were bold for a reason, but based on the body of work, it seems a little bit less bold. So my formal pick to do this was Corey Conners at the Masters. And I think it's a little on the nose because, of course, this year is the 20th anniversary of Mike Weir's win in 2003. And how lovely would it be if we had another Canadian slip on the green jacket this year? But you look at Corey, 3 straight top 10 finishes, the first Canadian to do that since the 1960s. He's just got all the tools to win at that golf course because you don't have to go super low. It's a second shot golf course. You can, ball strike your way around, and the greens are hard for everybody. Corey is not a great putter. He has improved by leaps and bounds over the last couple of years, but his putting is certainly the worst part of his game. But yes, you have to be a good putter to win at Augusta. There's no arguing about it, but because the greens are so tricky, it levels the playing field a little bit, which is, I think, why Corey's had such success there. So Corey Conners to win the Masters this year is my pick. I would be over the moon thrilled if it happened, but I also wouldn't be all that surprised. I think the other guys have proven that they can get into the mix on Sunday on the PGA Tour, but no one and take those events across the finish line. All these guys, other than Taylor Pendrith, who I do think will win this year, have all lifted trophies on the PGA Tour, but none of them really has that final round at a major experience and continued to stay firmly in the conversation by the time we got to the back 9. Mackenzie Hughes was in the final group at the US Open a couple years ago, but faded early and wasn't really part of it. So Corey is the only one that has been a part of it, in it firmly, late on a Sunday. And I think that experience is going to be the thing that helps him take it across the finish line. But we just need the guys to continue to have those opportunities and be able to play there. Like, even take someone like Max Homa, amazing guy, beauty, won a bunch on tour, top 15 in the world. Everyone loves him on social media. He has really, really struggled at the majors in his career. I would be hard pressed to think that he has a top 15 finish in any major. And it just goes to show you that winning on the PGA Tour and contending at majors are 2 totally different animals, and you have to prove it over and over and over again. And Corey at the Masters has proven that he belongs there. He has proven that the golf course doesn't scare him. He's proven that he's got a good strategy to take on that golf course. So him winning the Masters this year would be my laser-like, very specific, actual choice of a Canadian male to win a major.
I
I
think
love
what
it.
we need to do is morph Corey Connors' ball striking with Mackenzie Hughes' putting, and then I think we're guaranteed a Canadian to win a major this season.
Auto. That's it. Exactly. Taylor Pender's driving, Corey's iron game, Mackenzie Hughes' putting. Best in the world by far. Would be unstoppable.
That's it. LPGA season is also kicking off this week. So they're kicking off their Tournament of Champions down in Florida. You will be there on the grounds. So we're going to keep the predictions rolling here a little bit. Who do you like for the season, right? So who do you like to kind of win Player of the Year, but also this event to kick it off?
Yeah, this year on the LPGA Tour is going to be super interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement behind the LPGA Tour, just as a whole, as a business entity. The women are playing for the most amount of money, total purse that they ever have been. It's just north of 100 million. They're playing the U.S. Women's Open at Pebble Beach this year. There are not small accomplishments and excitable moments that are set to come on the LPGA Tour this year, which will be pretty darn awesome. As far as this week goes, I'm gonna double up and say that both this week Nelly Korda is gonna win, and I think Nelly Korda is gonna be beyond what we think of when it comes to her successes. And what I mean to say is she has already won a gold medal, she's won a major, she has been number one in the world. But if anybody has seen her golf swing on social media or etc., which hopefully everyone has, it is picture perfect. It's hard to believe that she loses ever on the LPGA Tour, given how great her swing is. So the big question mark, obviously, with Nelly is her change in equipment. She has signed with TaylorMade, top to bottom, and a new golf ball, which is tricky for some of the best in the world to switch over to. Brooke Henderson as well is going to be announced as a TaylorMade athlete this week. So a bit of a change with her too, but Nelly's golf swing is so good that I don't think that the equipment matters as much as we think. And it's going to be a big year for her because she's coming back this year for a full season after having to take, a quarter of the year off last year with a blood clot in her arm and having to have surgery and et cetera, et cetera. So I think she is not only 100% healthy, she's going to be more motivated than ever to, again, start stepping on the necks of her competition, because she saw Lydia Ko go out there and absolutely dominate for the balance of the year, take a bunch of time off, get married, and now she's going to be slowly coming back to work, maybe not in fine form right off the hop. So I like Nelly this week. I like Nelly to get off to a really, really good start and just kind of carry it through. And to be frank, someone like Nelly having the opportunity to showcase women's golf as much as she can and just kind of bring it to the masses. Who else is a Nike athlete and also plays TaylorMade? Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy. Who's to say that that group can't all be in kind of content together? And if so, that's going to be pretty darn good for the sport as well.
Earlier in the show, Adam, you talked about how big of an inspiration Mike Weir was to you, and you got some, to spend some time with him when he was named international team captain for the 2024 President's Cup team. What is one thing that people don't know about Mike Weir that you think would really surprise them?
He's a really good cook. Mike's got a nice kitchen game. And I think that part of that has to do with his mother, or he's got some kind of Italian roots to him. So the Weirsy family holiday table is often stacked with some nice dishes, and that's carried down to Mike Weir a little bit. So he's a big wine guy as well. He had a wine label for a number of years in Niagara, and he was right there, doing the grapes and et cetera. And he has been to Augusta National's wine cellar many times, which he says could be up there with any kind of 5-star dining experience in the world in terms of what kind of bottles they have on offer, which is pretty cool. But Mike Weir is a very good cook from what I know and understand, and people may not think that a pro golfer who probably spends so many weeks on the road would be that have that amount of kitchen prowess, because they're probably just used to eating takeout stuff for room service or etc. But Mike Weir, not a bad little chef.
There you go. The things you didn't know, right? Yeah. Right here, Mike Weir. If you need an event catered, that's right. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly wrap this up here, Adam, with the LPGA again, because you are heading down there this week. I've got a viewer question in from Douglas Newman on Twitter. He wants to know about your thoughts on LPGA Rookie of the Year and also the Comeback Player of the Year this season.
Yeah, two good questions. I think Lucy Lee is probably going to be my pick for Rookie of the Year. Lucy, of course, for maybe the casual listener, back when she was 9, I think 9, maybe 12, she was pretty darn young. She qualified for the US Women's Open and she got in, she played, and she would do her post-round interviews. It was smoking hot. This was the year of Pinehurst, 2014. She did her post-round interviews with like an ice cream cone. Like she was the one standing there with an ice cream. And now, accelerate 5, 6, 7 years later, she won twice in the Epson Tour last year, and she's friggin' good. And she's going to be on the LPGA Tour this year. So I'd say Lucy Lee for sure in terms of LPGA Rookie of the Year. And it's funny, you know, I was noodling about the Comeback Player of the Year and who might kind of qualify for this. And the interesting thing is, like, I'm pretty sure Nelly would probably count as Comeback Player of the Year. Like, she missed half the season. Well, maybe not half the season, but at least a third of the season because she had a blood clot in her arm. So she had to recover from that, and she had surgery, and et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, if again, I talked about Nelly actually dominating the year from start to finish, but when you think about, again, a body of work from comparatively from 2021 to 2022, you know, I think Nelly's comeback not only is going to be an impressive thing to bear witness to, but I think that she's going to deserve any of those accolades that come her way because, you know, she was bedridden. She was hospital bound for months. So anytime you can come back from that and accelerate yourself back up to being a top player in the world is pretty impressive for sure.
Awesome. Adam, well, got to thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Honestly, man, we could talk to you all day, but yeah. we got to let you go. You're getting ready to go to Florida. So safe travels down there. Enjoy the season, and we'll hopefully connect again with you soon.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. And
awesome.
Here's to some great golfing this year and some great golf to watch as well. Hopefully it's a nice year for all the Canadians. But yeah, I mean, obviously so much drama last year with everything that happened with LIV and the PGA Tour. And it seems like, you know, they're going to do their thing. The tour is going to do their thing. And yeah, hopefully we get some nice success from the Canadians to write about and talk more as we go.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much. We'll be watching and we will be following along for you on Twitter. So thanks so much and take care.
Thanks. Really appreciate it, Adam. Thanks a lot, man. Thank you so much for listening, and a huge thanks to Adam Stanley for coming on the show this week.
Don't forget to like and subscribe this video. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have a future question for one of our next guests, don't forget to drop us a message.
Next week is PGA Merchandise Week, and coming on the show is the Director of Sales for Skony, Jack Curry. He's going to be talking about their latest shoe.
Thank you so much for listening and watching. This has been episode 2 of Off the Green. We will see you next week.